Here at the Roseville Press Tribune, we have been covering hundreds of stories in the year 2010, but these are the stories that made it to the top 10 of 2010. A stolen vehicle, high-speed chase, death by head-on impact. Roseville gets a flash of its own action film on September 16th when Calvin Tooker rams a convertible into a daycare van.
Extremely lucky that everybody in the other car survived.
Tooker dies while Mary Spoonmore and 4 toddlers survive.
She was great to talk to because she went through something that none of us want to go through.
And number 9 takes us to sports, and our editor Michelle admits that she may not know much about that.
Not as much as I could.
But our sports editor Bill Poindexter does know.
You will hear coaches say that it's tough for a team to beat another team 3 times, let alone 4.
And this happened on March 6th when city rivals Wood Creek and Oakmont met in a boys basketball game for the 4th time in the season, and Wood Creek won again, this time 45-44 in the championship game of the Sac Joaquin Section Division II playoffs at Arco Arena. And our number 8 story this year is the war in Afghanistan, which killed a Granite Bay Marine. The war in Afghanistan really does affect everyone.
Is very distant from us in every way, physically and mentally. Actually does have impact. And so when you see that there's a local resident who was out there and made the ultimate sacrifice, you see how much we're a part of it.
A mere 3 weeks after deploying to Afghanistan, Granite Bay High School graduate and U.S. Marine Victor Dew dies in combat October 13th when a roadside bomb explodes near his military vehicle.
Reading the story of his life, though, made me feel like he did the most with his time here, and he died serving our country, and we all owe him a debt of gratitude for that.
At number 7 on our list, on February 8th, accused of fatally stabbing a friend in the heart, Caleb Madsen walks free following a 3rd mistrial. Though Madsen was the last to see Christopher Worth alive, jurors didn't believe there was enough forensic evidence for conviction. Madsen spent more than 4 years in jail, where he assaulted an inmate and guard. And number 6, it's a parent's worst nightmare. Callie Scogan, 3, daughter of Placer County Sheriff's Deputy Ken Scogan, accidentally shoots herself to death on April 20th.
The police chief ordering, his police officers not to criticize the department, and when that happens, there must be something to criticize.
Police were criticized on February 18th when a lawsuit slammed Roseville police alleging a hostile work environment for homosexuals or those perceived as homosexual.
Gay citizens who might be contacted the police for help, how does that affect how they do their police work? And also taxpayers. This is going to be a big expense to the city to fight a lawsuit like this.
And taking the number 4 spot, the beloved Civic Theater West or Magic Circle Theater ceases operations November 10th after a mounting debt of about $500,000 becomes too much to bear.
I think it was a big loss culturally, community-wise, and for our downtown district.
It is no doubt that Roseville's downtown will be taking a hit.
I think theater belongs in our community.
Coming in number 3 this year is the 2010 election.
Yes, there were very many elections in 2010, it felt like.
On June 7th, Roseville Joint Union High School District Board member Jack Duran beats incumbent Rocky Rockholm in a bitterly fought battle for the Roseville seat on the Placer County Board of Supervisors. And the November 2nd election results in 2 new members joining Roseville City Council, Susan Rohan and dentist Tim Herman. They replace longtime public servants Gina Garbolino and Jim Gray. And the number 2 story started due to the dismissal of Craig Robinson, the city manager, back in 2009.
The way our previous city manager was let go probably wasn't in the best interest of Roseville taxpayers with a pretty large buyout.
In a 4-to-1 vote, Roseville City Council members select Ray Carriage as new city manager.
We were all a little surprised when we found out it was a name we were all familiar with, Ray Carriage, who was the former city manager of Sacramento.
Carriage has since been instrumental in the redevelopment of downtown. And your number one story of 2010 is, of course, the Galleria fire.
I would have to say, without a doubt, it's the Galleria fire.
The Galleria Mall.
Well, there's no opinion about it. I don't think anyone would dispute the Galleria fire.
It is no doubt that the Galleria fire is the number one top story of 2010.
Well, it was a typical day for me, and I believe all of us.
You know, our photographer, I think, heard about it and said, hey, some crazy guy's over at the mall, hold himself up in a store. I'm like, okay, we better get over there.
We started hearing about the mall being on fire, and then we heard it wasn't, and then we heard it was again. And then you start seeing images on websites and local TV stations of smoke billowing out of the top of the mall.
The story rapidly unfolded on October 21st.
Crazy guy in the mall to he may have a bomb, he may have a gun, the mall is on fire.
I actually took a couple of phone calls myself from the public, which for something that is a news event, for it to end up in the sports editor's hands is a little bit strange. It means that the phones are ringing kind of crazy. And I did take a couple of calls from people saying, is the mall on fire? Is it closed?
Lian Hong was on the story.
It took us a while to realize how historic that would be for the city and for the region.
And people began to recognize and talk about one face.
You know, finding out more about who was behind the blaze, Alexander Piggy, learning more about him, I think, you know, also compounded the shock value.
After Piggy was taken in, it was thought that the fire was contained.
It turned into something totally different.
The symbol of Roseville was on fire.
If you're driving down the freeway and you see a grass fire, you see a big plume of smoke that looks like a mushroom cloud, like a nuclear bomb or something like that. It's very, very powerful. And to see it coming out of, you know, one of our signature marks in Roseville, which is the mall, it's kind of a scary, helpless feeling probably for a lot of people.
And because of Piggy's bomb threat, it was difficult for firefighters to contain it.
Around 12 or 1 o'clock. And that's about when they burst forward again into this second wind of much darker billows of smoke. I remember just black ashes falling from the sky, and eventually we could feel even the water from the fire trucks reaching us.
After hours of firefighting, 25% of the mall was destroyed.
Our beloved mall was taken over, evacuated, on fire, $55 million in damage. It was, I think, the most shocking story that went worldwide. There was reports of what happened were all over the national news, and around the world picked up.
But not all questions about the mall fire are answered.
And I think right now we don't have enough information to say what exactly happened that day or who's to blame, whether there's a trial going on or not.
And some are blaming the Roseville Police Department for holding back answers.
We understand that there's an investigation that has to happen, but at the same time, we need to know what happened that day, what could have been done differently to learn from the experience, and, you know, who's at fault.
From turning off the fire sprinklers to miscommunication, it seems like mistakes were made.
They certainly haven't answered everything, and there's definitely more information that people want and are waiting for.
But as for the mall itself, it remains the centerpiece of Roseville.
It's the one thing that we all have in common. We all shop there, our kids work there, some of us work there. The things we pass by it on the way home, we pass by it coming to work. Go there and hang out. You have a favorite store that you can go to, and you may just pop in there for one thing, knowing I can be in and out in 15 minutes. So yes, I do believe it affects all of Roseville.
A lot of people online on Twitter were saying things like it's our mall, and I think everyone has a pretty strong connection to the mall.
The biggest takeaway that people will remember is how much of it was unexpected.
And yet there is no question that it is the top story of 2010.
If it would have happened on January 2nd of 2010, it would still be the biggest story of the year. That by far was the biggest story for for Roseville.
That concludes our Top 10 countdown. Until next time, I'm Daniel Wetter reporting for the Roseville Press Tribune.